Welcome. Thanks for joining us, guys. I am Eric Gray, Director of Ministry at RockFish Church, and this is the Ministry Corner. In this series, we're going to be talking to two of our ministry leaders, Rebecca Overstreet and Katie Ray, about their experiences, their advice moving forward, and everything homeschool. So if you're interested, if you want to know more about homeschooling your kids, or if you want tips, this is the place for you. Let's get right into it, guys. All right, guys, welcome back. Thank you for joining us for our next segment with Becca and Katie as we talk about what we need to homeschool. And so we've talked about curriculum and stuff. But there's a whole lot of other things we see decorating the walls of classrooms and stuff like that. So we can easily go to Becca or anything else we mentioned as curriculums and all the things that we didn't mention that exist out there, and get those materials that are just the textbooks and the parent answer key, right? What are the other things you find yourself needing to get as a homeschooling parent to be able to have everything you need on hand to be able to teach your kids everything you want to teach them?
I feel like that the first thing that you think about, you search on Pinterest for homeschool classroom.
Pinterest. Okay. All right.
But
day off of Pinterest.
7 days later,
Honestly,
7
you
days later,
don't
when we
need
get
one.
out of Pinterest, when we finally climb out of that hole,
Right.
what are we getting?
Right. To say that, it was like the first entrapment. Like you think that you need to build this whole room and then you make it beautiful and realize that your kids don't want to sit there. So it's fine. We have school in our dining room, wherever they feel comfortable, finding a community answering that socialization myth.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about socialization, right? The thing that doesn't occur for homeschoolers. Talk about it.
Right. Okay. So what public school kid do you know that can recite the Declaration of Independence
Only
for
the
an
nerds.
audience? Right. Only the nerds.
Only
there
the
you
nerds,
go.
yeah.
Yeah. And feel confident doing that. I feel like, okay, so scenario, we have a group of kids that come to our house once a week, and there was this one little boy who was really shy at first and didn't want to stand in front of anybody, and he's just very closed. But having that community of other kids, he is presenting to everybody, and he's excited with gusto and animation, just in that 6-month time frame.
So it's not that socialization is not occurring, right? It's on a smaller scale, which makes it safer,
Builds their confidence.
right? So and there's trust that's built with that smaller community, and so
There's co-ops. Have you heard that word?
I don't know if we talked about co-ops. Tell me
Okay.
about it.
So ours is more like a field trip group, and it's fellowship based. But in this military community, there's several co-ops that have more of that classroom setting that meet once a week. So if your high schooler needs like an accredited class for biology and you do not want to dissect anything, they offer that.
Okay.
Yep.
And so is that a paid for thing? Is that something else we're investing in as homeschooling families? Like we're paying, is it an annual fee? Is it a weekly fee? Like how does that work?
Sure. So each one has their own different fees that are upfront usually. You pay for the class the year.
And then they may ask you to get a specific book.
Sure.
Or something like that, or you may have to pay for that specific class, which, the co-ops are not something that we participate in. But for those who do, I mean, it's been a really good thing for them. I've never heard anything bad about them.
Yeah.
So
It's not for profit.
Yeah, and
Right,
so you
it's
said
not
It's other
spending it.
parents
Yeah.
coming together saying, well, I'm good at biology, so how about I teach your child this?
Yeah.
right.
And, well, you can maybe teach
An art class
physical
or something,
education,
something
or
that I don't
go
wanna
have
do.
fun over here and watch these kids while this class is going on.
Right. And so I think we talked earlier about off camera about this isn't just for necessarily a high school accreditation. It's maybe if we don't feel confident, like some of us just weren't good at math.
Yes.
Right.
Right. And so
Right.
maybe we would love to hand off algebra
Exactly.
to somebody else who feels confident teaching. Right. And so
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
the co-oping thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So parents coming together to teach kids what they feel their strong suits are, or what their passion may be, or whatever, right,
Yeah.
to keep the kids excited because
Lots of opportunities.
we're excited to
Exactly.
teach it, right?
And there's programs at like the zoo or the botanical gardens or something. There's so many things. If your kid's interested in marine biology, the aquarium has summer camps and things specifically designed for homeschoolers.
Okay.
There's a lot of classes out there, and the socialization. I'll go back to that a little bit.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
I think my kids see more people now and talk more to people now than they ever did when they were in an actual school setting. Okay. Homeschooling allows them to connect with people of all ages.
Yeah.
So my kids can have a conversation with a 4-year-old, a 10-year-old. They can have conversations with adults.
They've had conversations with me.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Right? And they don't have an issue doing that because they're always around various different age groups. And so it's not that you're just sitting there with your peer group of this specific age.
Yeah.
You know, they're connecting with everybody on different levels. And I think that actually benefits them. And I know we're always called the weird kids, right? But who isn't weird these days, right?
Yeah.
It takes weird people to raise weird kids.
We all got our tendencies, right?
Right.
Yeah,
So I'm okay with them being called weird, and I'm being called weird because honestly, like, look at them thriving.
Yeah.
You know, how many school kids do you know who can go up to an adult and just have a conversation and hold his own?
Yeah.
There's not a lot.
Or defend his beliefs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Or even have the permission to defend the beliefs, right?
Right.
Exactly.
That's a whole nother conversation,
man.
right? Yeah. So I feel like, man, we brought up a lot of, like, there's a lot of connection points, like you said, for all those different co-ops, right?
Yep.
So the short answer would be just get connected with the RockFish Church Homeschool Group.
Bingo.
And
Got
you'd
it.
have access to all that because we'd be able to point you in the right direction.
Oh, yeah.
And you could go do the homework all on your own, right? But we've got families that have already kind of figured out the blueprint for so many things, and they can tell you where to go, where not to go, and where how to find success, right?
Yeah.
So, and again, that's not a like everyone's got to participate. You can just connect and get information because we want to share it, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so thank you for that, by the way. So you're saying I don't need everything in my house to make it look like a classroom
Oh my goodness.
to feel
No.
like a successful homeschooling family.
No, that
Okay.
is a myth.
Okay.
Don't do it.
This almost like a rule in society these days because of social media.
Yeah.
Right. And Pinterest, you can call that social media too. That we have to keep up with everybody. And just because this family has this beautiful homeschool room that they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on, that they change every season, does not mean you have to have that.
Yeah.
I don't have a homeschool room. My kids homeschool wherever they feel like it.
Yeah.
And I don't even like to call it homeschooling, right? Because we're educating them.
Okay.
We're not schooling at home.
Yeah.
We're educating our kids.
Exactly.
My son, my oldest, he loves to have his list of things he needs to get done for the day. He will go set up his hammock and do his work in his hammock outside, under the
That's
trees,
awesome.
near the pond, right?
Right.
It's his dream.
Not this season because it comes back all yellow.
Oh, no,
right?
he did
Yeah.
it the other day.
But if you don't have a farm, or like if you live in an
Right.
urban setting,
But
you
you
can go
can
to
do
a
it
park
anywhere.
or on your front porch. Or
You know,
Yeah.
my younger two, I have to do a lot more work with because they're elementary age. And my youngest daughter she has ADHD. She cannot sit still, and that's okay. So when she's doing her spelling words and she's doing jumping jacks, I'm okay with it because she's getting it done. I mean, who cares if she's sitting at a table? Why does she have to be prim and proper and sit at a table? There's no rules saying that she has to do that.
Okay.
So
all right.
she's getting her work, she's learning, and she's able to do it how she needs to do it.
Yep.
So while you're saying, and I fully support and agree what you're saying here, like we don't need to go get all the things.
No.
Are there some
absolutely
things
not.
that you do find yourself like, you know, I really needed to get a whiteboard to make it easy to teach and to do things. Did I need to get anything
Okay. So
like that?
we talked about like the kids' learning style, what helps them thrive. But we as teachers have a kind of teaching style, what help us feel productive. So if a whiteboard is how you can visualize something, get a whiteboard. We all
Absolutely.
need pencils and scissors and stuff. Those are kind of essential.
Yeah, we just get those at Walmart, right?
Yep.
No big deal, right? Or any other
I use
store.
a planner,
Yes.
Okay.
and that's specifically because I have 4 children and I want to keep where they're going all year long.
And a planner is a good way to keep record of your attendance.
Exactly. That's how we keep
a
our
requirement.
attendance as
Okay.
well.
Okay, so bam, back to the
Yes.
government, right?
Government.
The government. All right. So we knew that one, we needed to coordinate with the government to bring our kids home to teach them ourselves, right? And I think I meant to ask this in an earlier conversation, but attendance records matters. Do we need to worry about the mysterious knock on the door one day when we're homeschooling, like that somebody's coming to inspect our homeschool records
Potentially.
and our learning environment? Potentially.
They say
Potentially.
that they can do that
Say
anytime.
that they can do that.
Okay.
I've never heard someone who's done it.
Okay.
I know one person, and
Okay.
she told the lady no, and
Yeah.
she's like, she asked for all of the records and stuff, and she said, I'm just not going to do that because I've taught my kids. We have an accredited program, and before that we didn't, but they homeschool for the full term, and I don't have to. And she's like, okay, and
All right.
that was it. Just dropped it.
So
It was
no
fine.
government overlords that we
Right.
know of so
Right.
far, right? But there is a
Right.
program to hopefully, check that
Yes.
kids are being cared for and not
Right.
just.
On the North Carolina website, there is an attendance sheet you can have and put it in your binder, and you can just tally mark every day if you want.
Okay.
And thankfully, North Carolina is really relaxed on homeschool regulations. They do not regulate you.
Okay.
It's one of the best
You-
states to homeschool.
Yes.
Okay.
They do not require you to do a whole lot. So they give the parental freedom to choose what you want to choose for your children. And they only require that you keep attendance. And like I was saying earlier, the 9 months.
Yeah.
Of
Okay.
those core subjects.
Yes.
Gotcha.
And
okay.
then in that, you also have to keep vaccination records or a exemption letter exempting your children from vaccinations.
Who creates the exemption letter?
You do.
Yeah. Okay. So you
You
just
create
create
it
a
and you
memorandum
sign
and
it.
say, yep. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that can all be autonomously done. You don't have to go anywhere else to achieve that, other than if you're going to the doctor and you're getting the vaccination records, right?
Right.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. So how about scholarships or grants? I think in a previous conversation off camera, you told me something about certain things. I know my brother and sister-in-law, they were educating my nieces in California. California gave like each family got like $8,000 for each kid they were homeschooling, like back to them
Wow.
instead of it going to the public school system.
Okay.
Do we get anything like that from the government through programs, grants, anything when we do this in North Carolina?
So unfortunately, no. They have the scholarship for private schools. If you want to go that route, there is the scholarship for special education covers private schools, but also covers homeschool. And I know some of those curriculums can be more expensive, so that is really important.
Okay. So, but there's an application process.
Yep.
Okay.
And I can show that link to you.
Absolutely. So we'll get that posted in the video here. So in doing that, it's coming from a third party or from the government?
From the government.
Okay,
that
from
was
the government.
The government.
So who qualifies? What children or categories of
Okay.
diagnoses gives us the ability to say, hey, I want to apply for this?
Yeah, for sure. If you have a diagnosis and an IEP from the public school. So that's my tricky spot, is because I don't want to put my kid back into public school, but he was there in kindergarten. So we did that, but I'm my researcher, and so I researched the public school is mandated to give you an IEP.
So what is the IEP?
For an IEP is an individualized education plan
Okay.
for their system for special needs classrooms. As a homeschooler, you have the right to go to your county school and you'll have a video conference with them, and they'll set up a plan based on what you tell them.
Okay.
Yep.
So they will actually help you from a
Yeah.
distance in doing this. But so again, what qualifies? So
anything that-
we've brought up autism, I think, right? ADHD, does that qualify?
Yeah, cerebral palsy or any kind of disability. If you
Okay.
have that diagnosis, ADHD, anything that would in the public school system would get you to that special classroom or have an IEP in the school system.
Okay.
Right. So if
It
they
cover a
in
wide
the-
range of things.
if they in a actual school setting need any kind of individualized
Like reading a test for them.
education, right, then they would have to get that. So whereas I have two children that have ADHD, neither of them could ever get an IEP because,
Right.
They don't meet the qualifications.
They're still independent enough
Right.
to be able, okay. All right. So is that a lengthy burdensome process, or is it really simple to go about accomplishing getting the grant or the scholarship, however that works?
Well, two parts.
Okay.
Getting a diagnosis, that's a whole other
Understood.
ballgame.
If we've achieved that part, or like if that's
If you've
already
achieved
occurred,
that
right?
already,
If that's already occurred,
and so I pulled my kid out, and I know we already had an IEP.
Mm-hmm.
It is easy. You call them, they set up an appointment, we video conference for an hour, and they got it all written down, all the areas that they needed to cover, and they sent it to me in the mail. It took about a week.
okay. And so it's like it's a one time
You'll
thing, or is it
update
annually?
that.
So
Yeah.
it's every year we do this. Okay, excellent. All right, and it's per kid. Obviously, it's not like
Yeah.
per family, right?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
I would, if you are in financial need, I would research the mess out of scholarships, because there are nonprofits that do offer those. They're out
Okay.
there. Just do
Not just necessarily North Carolina
Yeah.
either, right? We can go nationally on something like that. Mm-hmm. Okay, and for anybody who just happens to be watching this who's not in North Carolina, please, check with your state and how they do it, how they operate. There's, like I said, California was completely different. So you might have huge advantages out there for homeschooling your children, and it would do a little bit of homework, do a research project, right? And find out exactly what they have to offer and what they have to support you.
Yeah.
So what else? Is there anything else that comes to mind on what we need homeschooling other than just buying the curriculum?
Sure. Whenever you find you want that roadmap to success, you want to graduate your kid, right? And that fear of maybe I should put them back in public school for high school because I don't know what to do for high school. There's programs that can get you dual credit even in high school and families. One of our homeschool mamas does what is it called? Oh, I can't remember, but we'll post it. We'll sure.
Post it. We'll post it.
But she's very enthusiastic about doing these groups where you can teach a class and it gets you dual enrollment for college.
Yeah.
And so there's awesome programs like that, and there is resources to help you stay on track for accrediting them for high school and for colleges. So say you do the perfect thing in high school, you even volunteer, you do this so many times, but everybody who wants to go to college is trying that same thing. Mm-hmm. Maybe they want to see something creative. They want to see something different. So maybe you can try a different approach and having like a website for yourself for the kids.
Okay.
And if you are interested in videography, having videos up there on your website showcasing all these things where you are doing community service, highlighting yourself in different ways, being unique.
I got you. Okay. Yeah. And I think what you're talking about is, all the blocks, the overachieving kids, right?
Yes.
I was a C+ kid all the way through high school. That's why I joined the Army. All right. That's just the path you create for yourself. But some kids are totally trying to get themselves to college, and they want to get the scholarships, and they want all the things they've got to accomplish those, like you said, community service, hours of this, hours of that, certain GPA, and so for those kids in a homeschool setting, to be able to do what you're talking about, creating that.
If that is your
other method, other created opportunity, right?
Path, but there are so many. You don't have to go to college,
right?
No. You could do a trades that makes more money anyway.
And we'll absolutely. I think we're seeing, we are it's a whole nother subject.
It is.
But yeah, absolutely.
But that's one of the beauties of homeschooling too, though, is there's not a specific, even in high school, because I have a high schooler right now, there's not a specific guideline as to what you have to teach. Now they do give you guidelines and say, if you'd like to go to a North Carolina state college, these are what they're looking for.
Right.
But if you have a child who is not on a college path, right, because that's not where their heart is leading them. So my son right now is saying Air Force. That's where I'm going to go. I'm going to go to the Air Force. I'm going to go to the Coast Guard. I'm going to do something in that realm. We're not planning for him to go to college. So I'm not putting him on that path. Now, if he chooses to do that on his own, more power to him. But right now, we focus on things that he wants to learn, things that are interest-led. So, for science, instead of a typical science curriculum, they did agricultural science. they're learning about off-grid, how to make their own toothpaste.
Yeah.
I mean, because you never know, right? Like,
Yeah.
what if you don't have enough money? What if you have these ingredients, right? Or if you're out camping, you can bring your own.
Right. And so
And it's just fun, different things that you can do. So everything is interest-led,
Yeah.
and so you don't have to follow these things, which is really nice.
Yeah. And it can set them up to succeed like
Exactly.
exponentially.
Right.
Right. Well, I mean,
that-
one of the biggest complaints I get from all three of my kids, not that they didn't learn it from me, but that they went to, public school or even homeschool for math. It's like, they don't teach us how to balance our checking account and how to pay your taxes. And
Right.
I'm like, you can complain all you want about the school system, but I taught you these things.
Yep.
Right, exactly.
But yeah, that's like the common thing from young adults I hear is like, nobody taught me about my finances, right? But so real quick, you talked about you want to graduate your kids, right?
Yes.
And so that's one of the things we happen to offer through the ministry, right? So every year we have
A homeschool graduation.
a homeschool graduation ceremony at the church.
Yeah.
What years do we graduate? Is it just 12th grade? Do we do it for 5th grade, for which age groups are we graduating in those years?
So we graduate for 12th grade, but
Okay.
last year we had a student who already graduated but was unable to have a graduation, so he did the ceremony this year.
Gotcha.
And that
Okay.
was encouraging for their family.
Perfect. Okay. And then, so lastly, I know we have an event coming up, I think in May.
Yes.
For families who want to know more about how to get registered, all the
Yes.
things.
Want
When and
hands-on.
where do they need to be, or when and where do they go to register for that event where we're going to
Okay.
tell them about next year's events and all that?
Yes, it's on Realm.
Okay.
It's under registration events, and you can sign up for it there.
Okay, so if it's on Realm registration events, that means it ought to be on the rockfishchurch.com website as a registration event too.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So that's good. So that's two avenues. Anytime we go live with the registration, it ought to show up as an upcoming event there. But real quick, what is? Do you know the time and date?
We're working to solidify it.
Okay. All right.
It will either be May 11th or that next weekend.
Okay, May 11th or 18th. All right. So a Saturday in May,
Yes.
we will have that
Yes.
event. Okay.
Yes. And so what it's going to be is we're going to have homeschool moms and dads there. You can ask them all of your questions. We'll get up and talk about the laws and what you can and can't do, or what the law says you have to do. We're going to have curriculum set up so that you can flip through some things just to see kind of a little bit of what everybody uses.
Yeah.
Maybe something will work for you, but you can come and ask all those questions and get the support and encouragement to start homeschooling.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're
Thank you
excited
both
for it.
so much. All right. So we're going to wrap this up and we're going to get ready for segment number 4, which is the big struggles and the big victories we've experienced through homeschool. So see you guys in a minute. Hey, thanks for joining us, guys. Hopefully this was really helpful and exciting for you. And if you got any questions, please leave them in the comments. Please like and share with anybody you know is interested in homeschooling their kids. Take care.